I'm simulating Euro 2024, but every country can only select players over the age of 30. So as you can see, the German team does have some real-life ballers in there, but very quickly the quality drops off. You can see how good each player is as I've included their current ability, which is out of 200. In reality, players like Mustafi and Young should be nowhere near this German side. But things are even worse for Hungary, who have a lot of young players who will struggle to break into a non-league team, let alone the Hungarian national team. Scotland have the oldest player in the tournament, 41-year-old Craig Gordon, who is their best goalkeeper by current ability, and he will become the oldest player to ever feature in the European Championships if he plays. The Swiss, on the other hand, have Jan Sommer, who is light years better than Craig Gordon. The Swiss actually have a solid defence, which might help them progress through the group stage and go far. But it's Germany who top the group with the maximum 9 points after they wiped the floor with Scotland, beating them 3-1 in the opening fixture. But it was much harder for them against Switzerland and Hungary, as they could only manage 1-0 wins in those games. The Swiss were able to beat Hungary 1-0 with a 92nd minute winner, and record a 0-0 draw with Scotland to earn 4 points and finish in second place, whilst Hungary beat Scotland 2-0 to beat the Scots to third place in the group and qualify as one of the best third place teams. In Group B, Albania actually looked like they had the stronger overall squad than Hungary, which suggests they might be able to progress through the group. However, they're in the group of death with Croatia, who still have the likes of Modric, Brozovic and Perisic in their lineup. They may not have been that good in real life, but the playing field levels out as everyone here is over 30 years old and things might just be different for the Croatians. But of course, Italy are even stronger than Croatia and have some incredibly talented players in their squad that should go on to be a danger in the tournament. I think Italy might be one of my favourites to go on and win it, but that's only if they can beat Spain, who have a lot of attacking players still playing at their peaks in the squad. But will they have the tactical nous to go on and beat the Italians in the group stage? Well, apparently not, as it's Italy who top the group with all 9 points. They beat Albania 2-0 in their opening games, just before squeezing past Croatia 3-2 thanks to a very late Ciro Immobile goal that wrapped up the victory. Then they played Spain and beat them 1-0 thanks to a late Vincenzo Grifo goal to top the group. Spain were able to beat Albania 1-0 and then end up on top in a 5-3 thriller against Croatia, where it seemed like neither defences wanted to turn up. But it's Croatia who finished rock bottom of the group, as Albania score their only shot of the game to win 1-0 and qualify in third place. In Group C, Denmark have a really solid team that doesn't have any standout stars, but should form a good collective that could make a deep run later on in the competition. But England will be hoping to play better than they have done in real life. But I am a little concerned about the lack of quality in the squad's depth. I don't really think John Joe Shelby or Joe Lolly will be enough to see England bring football home. And maybe England should be worried about Serbia, who still have some of their biggest threats available in Dusan Tadic and Alexander Mitrovic. Can they do better than they did in real life and make the knockouts? Well, they should be able to beat Slovenia, who outside of Jan Oblak don't have much quality at all. Unfortunately for them, after Oblak, their second best player by current ability is also a goalkeeper. England got off to winning ways as Danny Welbeck and Harry Kane both scored in a convincing 2-0 win over Serbia. Trippier and Kane also scored from set pieces to beat Slovenia 2-0. But the Danes had the better of the game between the two sides. Although England did score first, Denmark ended up getting themselves into a 3-2 lead in the 89th minute, only for Harry Kane to score an equaliser in the 94th minute and draw the match. But the Danes only picked up 4 points, as they lost 3-1 to Serbia, who played them off the pitch. But they were able to beat Slovenia 3-0, which gave them just enough points to qualify. Slovenia then went on to beat Serbia, putting both sides on 3 points, but neither had good enough goal difference to qualify as one of the best third place sides, and they're both knocked out. In Group D, Austria's team is surprisingly weak to me. Outside of the top few players, it doesn't feel like there's much depth in the squad, and I think they'll struggle in the group, especially as France's team is so good, with the likes of Griezmann, Kante and Giroud. However, the French are lacking good defensive players, which could be their downfall later in the tournament. The Dutch are also looking solid as a lot of their older players are still incredibly good. But like England's, it's their lack of quality in the depth that I think is going to let them down. I just don't trust a 37-year-old Ryan Babel. And Poland are going to be relying on Lewandowski and Szczesny if they want to progress through the group, as outside of those two players, the quality is really dropping off. But they almost pulled off a win against France. It's just the French had enough quality in their side to come away as 3-2 winners on the night, scoring the winner in the 87th minute. France also managed to beat the Dutch 2-1. Although the scoreline was tight, the match stats were heavily in the French's favour. But a 1-1 draw with Austria stopped them from emulating Germany and securing all 9 points. Austria actually ended up second in the group, following a goalless draw with the Dutch and a superb 2-1 win over Poland as they collect 5 points from the group stage. I was also actually meant to watch Poland v Austria in real life, but I didn't, because the German train system is rubbish. Poland also qualify alongside Austria to the knockout stages as they thrash the Dutch 3-0, which means the Netherlands crash out of the group stage as one of the worst performing nations in the competition. Belgium haven't impressed in real life, but in De Bruyne, Courtois and Lukaku, they have 3 of the best players in this over 30s competition. So I'm expecting them to qualify top of Group E, but again, it's the lack of depth that might let them down in the end. Romania actually have a decent core of the squad, and I think they might have enough about them to get through this group. Dubravka almost denied England in real life the other night. Perhaps he'll have another chance in game as he's Slovakia's best player, but I don't think the rest of the squad is that good, so I suspect they'll finish bottom of the group. That's because Ukraine should be good enough to beat Slovakia and progress from the group probably in second place. But they don't appear to have any decent strikers, so if they can't solve the issue of scoring goals, they will be in trouble. But incredibly, it's Slovakia who topped the group with 7 points. They managed to pick apart Belgium to win the opening game of the Euros 3-1 to send a warning shot to the rest of the countries. They then recorded an incredible 4-0 win over Romania as they showed no signs of slowing down. Until Ukraine came back from being 2-0 down and they drew the match 2-2. Belgium recovered from their loss to Slovakia by finishing second in the group. Lukaku scored all 4 goals in a 4-2 win over Romania, and he also scored a brace in a 5-3 win over Ukraine, which takes his total tally up to 7 goals to lead the Golden Boot race early on. Ukraine end up bottom of the group as they lost 3-0 to Romania, who, just as they are in real life, are looking like a surprise package in this version of the European Championships. Czechia will be hoping they can make it out of Group F, with the likes of Vladimir Koufal and Matej Vydra needing to be on form if they want to stand a chance. In all these videos, I've been very quick to write off Georgia, so this time I'm going to say they stand a chance. But they need to play some incredible football if they want to progress past our next 2 nations. Portugal will be led by Cristiano Ronaldo and the second oldest player to Craig Gordon, Pepe. He's just 3 months younger than the Scottish keeper, but unlike Craig Gordon, Pepe is actually at the real life Euros and playing really well. And finally, Turkey will be looking to get through the groups as they did in real life. But they do look to be lacking quite a lot compared to the other teams in the tournament, so we could see them exit very early. But I wasn't expecting them to crash out in the group stages as they finish rock bottom. Portugal beat them 1-0, as well as recording 3-0 wins over Georgia and a 4-0 win over Czechia to look like the most convincing side in the tournament. Georgia also managed to beat Turkey as they scored 2 first-half goals to seal the victory before drawing 2-2 with Czechia to pick up 4 points, which was enough for second place in the group. Czechia also drew 2-2 with Turkey, which means their 2 points aren't enough to see them qualify for the knockout stages of the tournament. So overall, we've seen a few shocks, with Turkey, the Netherlands and Croatia all finishing rock bottom of their groups. Slovakia topping Group E and Albania making out the group of death are also really impressive. Slovakia's prize is a tie with Poland, whilst Germany v Denmark may end up being the game of the round and a potential upset given how well Denmark played in the group stages. Now, I'm simulating all of this in Football Manager, but did you know there's a tennis manager? It's made by a French indie studio of just 10 passionate devs, and it's the best depiction of the junior and pro tennis tours. In career mode, you can take over an existing academy, or create your own to recruit the best tennis players and coach them in over 2,000 competitions from the junior categories all the way up to Grand Slam victories. You're in charge of everything, such as negotiating contracts, making structural investments for your academy, and training your players to become the best player they can be out on the court. I'm a massive fan of the match engine. It does actually look a lot better than Football Manager's engine, and you have the ability to go super in-depth with your analysis of every single shot taken on the court. If you want an even deeper look at the game, I actually streamed a multiplayer tournament the other night on the YouTube channel, so you can go and give that one a watch if you want to find out even more about the game. Tennis Manager 2024 is currently on sale with 30% off during Wimbledon, and there's also an in-game challenge to try and win some Tennis Manager merch. So click the top line of the description to head to Steam and get Tennis Manager 2024 right now. But it is Germany who come out on top as 2-0 winners, despite only having 5 shots to Denmark's 10. Füllkrug and Gross were just too clinical. Spain had to rely on an Aspas penalty and an own goal to just sneak past Switzerland 2-1. Once again, the strongest side on the match stats ended up losing the game. But there was no such issues for Italy, as they dominated Hungary on paper and on the pitch as they tore apart the Hungarian side to win 5-1 and comfortably make the quarterfinals. Too bad they couldn't do it in real life. However, England cut it even finer than they did in real life. After going 1-0 down, they had to rely on an Adam Lallana goal to level things up, which took the game to penalties. Here, Nick Pope made 2 massive saves to ensure England just make it through to the quarterfinals and avoid an upset. Lukaku scored twice for Belgium to take his tally to 9 goals. However, he won't be scoring any more, as Austria managed to knock out Belgium on penalties. After the game finished 1-1, both teams scored in extra time, and it was the man you wouldn't expect, Kevin De Bruyne, who couldn't score, meaning Austria progress. Albania had 10 shots to Portugal's 7, but Portugal managed to score 3 of them compared to Albania's 1, which means once again we've seen the more dominant side on paper get kicked out of the competition. Despite topping their group, Slovakia couldn't do enough to beat Poland, who looked comfortable in their 3-1 win. Poland are going to feel very confident going into the quarterfinals off the back of that result. And finally, France put in a top quality performance to beat Georgia 5-2 and put themselves right up there with Italy to look like one of the strongest 2 nations in the competition so far. So annoyingly, there weren't really any shocks other than Austria beating Belgium and England winning on penalties. I think both sides are going to struggle in the quarterfinals against Portugal and Spain. However, it's Austria who managed to beat Portugal 2-0 with a goal in the middle of each half to become our first semi-finalists. I kinda regret saying earlier in the video that they stood no chance of doing anything. It feels like we've seen another shock, as Germany beat Italy by 2-0, and I backed Italy to win the entire tournament at the start of the video as well. There was no dramatic comeback for England though, as Spain comfortably beat the English 3-1s with goals from Mikel Vesca, Iago Aspas and Alvaro Morata. And finally, it's the end of the road for Poland, as France put themselves in pole position with a dominating 3-0 win to make the semi-finals. There they'll be taking on Spain, whilst Germany need to beat Austria if they want to make the final. And Spain become our first semi-finalists as they score a single goal in the 87th minute to win 1-0. They'll be facing Austria, who pull off a miracle by scoring in the 24th minute and then seeing out the rest of the match to win 1-0. So can the Austrians continue their fairy tale run, or will Spain emerge victorious? Austria had the first chance of the game, but they just couldn't score from the corner, until the ball fell to Guccia, who scored through a crowd to give Austria the lead 3 minutes in. And 5 minutes later, they almost doubled their lead. Somehow neither of their efforts managed to find the back of the net. But in the early stages, Spain looked like they just can't handle the Austrian attack. 17 minutes in and Austria were once again allowed a chance to attack and get a shot away, but it was just wide of the mark. So when Spain gifted Austria another chance 21 minutes in, Arnautovic's shot deflected off the Spain defender, taking it past De Gea and doubling the Austrians' lead. But De Gea was able to make a solid save from Arnautovic's header just before half-time to keep the scorelines in touch. But Spain have done nothing for 45 minutes, and the final is now surely Austria's to lose. But despite Spain manager throwing the water bottle, they just couldn't get into the game at all, as Austria sat back and defended to protect their lead. 70 minutes in, Spain are still aimlessly putting crosses into the penalty area straight at the keeper. They did come closer a few minutes later, but this was their first shot of the game and it was straight over the bar. And so instead, Austria were able to get up to the other end of the pitch and create an opportunity. The shot from a low cross was initially blocked, but it fell to Zulj, who scored the third goal of the game and won the match and European title for Austria. Who'd have thought that Europe's best team over the age of 30 years old would be Austria? Which makes it even more annoying that I missed their game at the European Championships this summer. To find out exactly what happened, you can watch this video on screen right now, where we attempted to watch 3 games in 50 hours, but things went a little bit wrong along the way. If you want to see me cry on a train, it's probably a good video to watch if you're into that sort of thing.